Hey, gun people. There's a good little article. I think it was written by a guy named Tim Dees. 15 things cops wish the public knew. I'm kind of, I agree with most of these things, and a lot of times I don't necessarily agree with a lot of things that are put on the internet and stuff, but on this one I do. So the number one thing that he says here, and hopefully you'll be able to read this, I kind of blew it up enough, is people have been conditioned by TV to properly train police officers any size can take down any person of superior size, strength, quickly, almost effectively without use of weapons. Okay, there's a lot of cursing and screaming that goes on. The cops usually win, but only because they can get enough cops there to see them. That's very true. On TV, you see these little women taking down big guys, doing karate chops, flying through the air, whatever. Even men. I mean, a lot of times in some of my videos, all the cop has to do is slow the guy down, detain him, and survive long enough for additional forces to get there. That's why cops usually win. It's not because cops are supermen and we're, whatever. I mean, obviously we have tools that give us some advantage, but we have to be able to get to those tools, and we have to be able to employ those tools effectively. And, hopefully the suspect doesn't know how to defeat those tools, and the tools have to work properly. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that go in, but that use of force isn't pretty. That's his number one thing. Number two is most cops never shoot anyone. That's very true. He says a few cops here only shoot their guns at the pistol range or maybe to dispatch a wounded animal. Most cops don't shoot in a line of duty. I mean, if you look at a video and everything, you think every cop's out there going to school, going to work every day. They have to reload their gun because they shot 14 black people the day before. Most cops don't shoot people. It's a very, very, very small percentage. I'm not sure what the percentage is. Somebody may know where to find it and look it up, but the number of officers compared to the whole is a very, very small percentage. I would probably say it's very close to 1 or 2%, and that may even be high. Cops will go to extremes to avoid shooting people. I talk about this a lot. Number three, we don't want to shoot people. It's just too much of a pain. Mentally it messes you up. Nobody wants to kill anybody as much as people want to think that people do. And no cop wants to shoot anybody. You just don't. I mean, you pass a psychological eval, you pass orals. They know what kind of person you are. Most cops don't. Now, is somebody going to slip through? Yeah, I'm sure there's been a couple cops that have killed people and wanted to kill people and like killing people. But it's very, very rare. It's not normal. So, I mean, that's a good point. Number four, the people at the top often do not have a lot of practical experience. Boy, ain't that the truth. People get promoted in law enforcement because they're yes men, because they are they need a quota. So we got to have a cute woman that we can say we have as a sergeant, so we can put her in front of the camera, or we got to show that we have a black person and an Asian person, and it's quotas. The rank structure is always promoted and hired for anything but qualifications. Qualifications is the last thing. They don't care about that. Most of the people in higher ranks think the cops on the streets are dumb, and they're not smart enough to get promoted because they think they're smarter than everybody else. They got promoted. They're great. They're wonderful. Most of them are kind of on the wimpy side. They're not your aggressive meat eater cops. They're not out there confronting people. They didn't take risks. They didn't do a whole lot. They were always the last person there. They were the first person to leave. They never wrote any controversial reports. They always agreed with the administration. They ratted out other people who did minor things that was against policy to make themselves look good to the administration. So they're like, okay, we like this guy, we can depend on him. And again, all those key phrases, team player, we can depend on you, all means that when we screw up, when we lie, when we cheat, when we do something, we got to be able to trust you that you won't sell us out and tell people. So that's why I don't like those phrases. So the people at the top are absolutely not there because of practical experience. Number five, PTSD is real and commonplace. I agree. Even in accidents, sometimes it affected me for days. I would have dreams of people dying. I don't know if it's PTSD or not. I don't know what the official, because it seems like shit. People are getting PTSD from smoking a marijuana cigarette and, a seed popped in their eye. But whatever. PTSD for when you're dealing with blood, guts, death, violent situations, life and death situations. It happens, and cops can't ask for help. I don't care what anybody says, what any agency tells you. Oh, we have all these help. We give you free medical. We have free counseling. It'll be confidential. It's not confidential. When the government provides something, they own it. So when the government says we provide free counseling, guess what? The counselor is paid by the government, your administration, your police department. Therefore, the police department has access to what they found in the thing. So all this crap about it being confidential, I can't tell you another cops that went for help and then they were relieved of duty, lost their gun, made their problems worse, put more stress on them, all because they went and asked for help. So you know what other cops learn from that? Don't fucking believe that shit. Don't go ask for help or you're going to get screwed. No cop goes and asks for help. There's a lot of stresses, but not the kind you might think. This is pretty good. I kind of like this one. He says most stresses come from the police station, not the streets. Law enforcement agencies are extremely political. Okay? Who likes you, who you're friends with, who you're relatives with has a lot more to do with the progress of your career than how good you are. Very, very right on point. I agree with this 100%. Management by intimidation is how most police departments run their agencies. It's totally through fear and threats. From a human resource perspective, law enforcement agencies are horrible places to work. All cops hate where they work. All cops always buy lotto tickets, and they always come to work saying, if I win a freaking lotto, I'm telling everybody in this place to kiss my ass and I'm quitting. All cops would love to quit. Nobody wants to work as a cop and continue unless they're, making a whole bunch of money on the side, getting promoted, and they're not doing shit. But the daily job of the cop, people want out. They just don't want to leave the money and the retirement and the security. And you've been doing it for so long, you're good at it. It's very difficult to leave that kind of, the rush you get from going out there doing the job and being good at it and kind of helping people. There's some good things in it, but most cops, I guarantee you, if we said all cops who don't want to be cops, we're going to give you $1 million, we would have no cops the next day. All right, so, and it all comes from the PD. Horrible, horrible human relations in police departments. They eat your own, they attack their own, they create controversy, conquer and divide. They don't want your unity. They want you looking over your shoulder. They're always trying to get people to snitch and cause distrust. It's just a horrible environment. Okay, there aren't all that many bigots. There are some. Okay, I'll be honest. I hardly ever saw any. In all my career, what I call a bigot is somebody just out and out, he doesn't let it be known that he just hates either a certain class or people that he wants to identify for whatever reason, racial, educational. I just don't, I can't even think of one off the top of my head that I actually remember that I considered that was like really bad. Now, there was a few black people that I absolutely remember being the worst racist that I ever met. Hated white people, always bitching about white people, always complaining about the white man, didn't want to work with white officers, always hung out with only black people. There was plenty of them, but from Asians, white people, Mexicans, I don't remember any. So that's just for me. Take it or leave it. Some of our brother and sisters, officers, embarrass us. That's very true. But the problem with that is cops won't turn in other cops because we're constantly attacked from all angles, and you don't want to bring on more heat by turning in another cop because now you're going to piss off more cops and have more heat than you already got. Being a cop is on a survival kind of scale. You just try to make it. You're trying to live on the streets and not get killed. You're trying not to get killed by the administration, policy, rule changes, lawyers, suits. You're trying not to, get beat up by every freaking color of person calling you a racist. It's just a survival game, and being in that survival mode really makes a person distrust everybody. It causes you to really watch your back. It develops a nice sixth sense about when somebody's out to get you or when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. So I guess there's some pros to it, but a lot of the stress is horrible. My favorite police encounter story is not unique. You can't go anywhere without somebody, hey, my brother's a cop, my uncle's a cop. Everybody wants to tell everybody who's a cop and who's a... You know what? Cops really don't want to hear that shit. I don't really give a shit. You want to come by and tell me how much you appreciate me and all that? I don't really give a shit about that. Most of the time, I just want to be left alone, especially when I'm freaking eating. Because I don't know what it is, but when cops eating, good people, nice citizens always want to come over and either say, hey, can I buy you a dessert? I really appreciate what you know what? It's nice, and maybe if you're having a bad day, but man, when you get inundated by that all the time, it becomes kind of almost like, people who are movie stars, they don't want people taking pictures. They become very recluse because they just want to be left alone. And as a cop, you're never really left alone. You're tied to that damn radio. You got your cell phone. You got your bosses. You got cases. You got the court saying. You got subpoenas. You got, the public being pissed. You got calls that you got to chase. You're 5 reports down that you have to remember and go write. All kind of things. So a lot of times cops just want to be left alone. There are a few universal rules and policies. Very true. When cops do things, it's seldom personal. I mean, cops usually just don't get in that personal shit. There's some guys that get personal if you start talking about their mama or their wife, or I'm going to kill you, or I know where your kid goes to school. Then it gets personal. Most times, cops are like, I don't really give a shit, it's a job. Okay, becoming a cop's harder than you think. Very true. Especially in California. I mean, it's freaking, you got to go through so many hoops. I mean, it literally takes almost 6 months just to go through the application process, backgrounds, psych evals, lie detectors, fill out your background application, get all your school, what you made in high school, what you made in college, get your college degrees, get your past employers, 3 people you were. I mean, the background process is crazy to become a cop. Unless you're a minority or a female or you're one of the quota hires, then none of that matters. We can waiver all that. White males, it's a pain in the ass. Television does not represent law enforcement. Very true. We wish we would stop telling your children we'll arrest them if they're not good. That used to irritate me when they say that. If a kid gets in trouble, they ought to think that the cops are the good guys and they can go to them. You got freaking parents out there telling them they'll arrest you if you're not good. It makes a cop look bad. Okay? You don't understand police work. Another good point. No matter how much you think you know, how many TV shows you watch, how much you read, until you're out there on the streets and you deal with that every day and all the different, idiosyncrasies of law and this and that and policy rule and who changes and this boss wants this and this boss wants that and who you're going to piss off and who's mad and what neighborhood you got to work in and whether you're liked or disliked or how many calls you got and where you're behind calls and do you have your quotas and why didn't you only write 2 tickets this month? Have you been goofing off? And, so good little article. I'll put a link if you want to read it.